Yes.
You know the big sign that says business on it?
Okay, hi.
Yeah, but that's where I work.
Hey.
That big sign, that's where I work. Right.
This is Tim Kent. We are the Three Musketeers of the Baltimore chapter of the Founder Institute. Thanks for coming tonight in the lovely weather. Actually, it's probably easier to get people here in bad weather because they don't have any inclination to go play out in the sun. So, tonight is the second of three recruiting nights, as we call it, with the Founder Institute. And the purpose of that is to, I guess, drum up as much interest as possible in the state of Maryland, where Baltimore happens to be the focal point from the chapter perspective, to get enough applicants into the semester, which will start in May. And right now we've had various levels of interest from about 100 people, of which an ideal class size is typically between 30 and 35 applicants. So that's where our goals are. And the three recruiting sessions last week, we had two Maryland-based entrepreneurs who shared their life stories on what were the trigger events that made them want to stop being an employee and start something on their own. And we have those recorded, so we can get those to you through a variety of means at certain times, through YouTube or other things later, since you weren't here. And we have a special guest speaker tonight, Brian Razak from Social Toaster, which is a local Baltimore success story for the technology company. And you guys will get a chance to interrogate him, but he'll tell you what it's like to start and succeed in Baltimore specifically with the technology company. And then we can stay as late as you guys want to talk after for questions. And the goal is by the next Tuesday session to give you enough information about the Founder Institute and impress you enough with our fabulous mentors and CEO speakers that you'll want to sign up and take the class. And hi, Ron. Yeah, we have guests popping in today. So the first thing we'll do today, before we give the floor to Brian, is take you through the Founder Institute corporate overview briefing to give you background. If you haven't read it on the website, this is more up to date, and they're constantly updating as they get new materials. So, any questions before we begin, or I'll take you through the briefing real quick? Well,
Pizza's on the way too.
pieces on the way, and yours.
This guy's on top of the important stuff.
So the three words that best describe the Founder Institute is they want to take Silicon Valley and its ecosystem for the technology innovation and spread it around the world. And right now, we'll show you what the world consists of. Believe in dreamers? Are all of you dreamers? Say yes. And this is about helping founders, much more so than helping founders' companies. So if you're starting a company or thinking about starting a company, this is designed to help you as individuals, CEOs of the company. Part of your dream? Does anybody do that? Sure. Demonstration. Okay, so it's a 3.5-month program. So in terms of what we expect, there's 14 different sessions, and this is after the recruiting, after next Tuesday, which will begin in our case for Baltimore in May. So we ask you to spend one night a week, and there's a few breaks between now and in May and September for holidays. But it's basically one night a week, which will probably be Tuesday night. And it's after hours, so you don't have to quit your day job. 14 classroom sessions total, which are taught by a variety of CEOs and mentors who you can see some background on our website. And we estimate that there's 25 hours per week that you'll spend. So if you have a 40-hour weekday job, another 25 perhaps, especially if you're at the concept stage. Now, this varies depending on if you already have an existing company, and that we support those startup early stage firms as well. So it might be substantially less if you have already put a company on paper and or have customers or prospects. And also that time estimate will vary if you're getting help from anyone such as co-founders. But that's sort of the average, the estimate, which we think you need to put in order to get the most out of the course. some tactics. So you think of the Founder Institute curriculum as a custom-tailored MBA program in 3.5 months, but it's custom-tailored to your business. Because you're going to get specific help from a variety of mentors and CEOs, ex-founders, to help you specifically as you work as individuals and as you work in groups. So it's not generic taking courses and learn about marketing and sales and finance. That's what MBA programs or real life work can supplement. This is how to make your idea and get it ready to put a pitch together to ultimately get in front of investors. Now, whether it's a variety, we're lucky in Maryland that we have a variety of sources, including government sponsored economic development and some technology specific, such as TEDCO, and Ron will give you a little shout out at the end. We have DBED, which is also a state, and we have a variety of funds within those programs. So that's one way of, one type of investor for early stage companies, which you'll be exposed to, and we'll have lots of speakers on that during the semester. There's also a pretty robust group of individual angel investors, and there's several, at least that I know of, angel groups that are sort of individual investors that get together and share risk across a variety of different programs. But in general, it's there's at least 3 or 4 that I know of that are technology driven. So you might be in front of one of those depending on what stage your company is and how much money you might need. But basically, you're going to work with a variety of your peers and other CEO founders who are going to give you feedback as you go through the 3.5-month program along all the way and all the steps. Structured approach. There's a variety of stuff in the marketplace. You've heard of the term incubators before. You've heard the term accelerators before. Think of this as a structured learning program, but you don't have to quit your day job in order to do it. So an after-hour structured program, it's not an incubator in the sense that it provides facilities and space and test equipment and things of that nature, but there are a lot of incubators, including the ETC that you're in now, that do offer space. It's not solely an accelerator, which sometimes puts money in and gets you in front of investors directly, although there's a gray area there because the Founder Institute has just launched a new venture fund for special cases. So there's a lot of resources in the state. Think of this as another tool in the toolbox to get you a successful company. There's a variety of group projects and assignments for these classes. So, and then we vary the groups. So you'll get to work with people, other founders who are sharing the same stresses perhaps and aspirations as you, and just with different types of companies. So you'll constantly get to work with individuals in your own classroom, in teams, and they're varying teams, and you get to work with different CEOs and different vendors as we go along. And this is really the most important side. It's really easy to talk about the concept of the Founder Institute, but we've got the results. So mentorship and structured approach with peer support equals results. So you start backwards, 45% of the companies that graduate from the Founder Institute in whatever chapter, whatever city around the world, 45% of them get funded, which is an unbelievably high percentage. So if you look at the venture capital firms fund, the private equity firms and investment banks and other groups, very low percentages. So we really prepare you well. 70% of them actually do better than their own business plan, and 86% of the companies that graduate have a successful, sustainable business. So that's a really high success rate. Right now, over 1,500 companies have been launched through the Founder Institute in the last 5 years. 1,500, with I think 11 or 12,000 new jobs created. So the results speak for themselves. Here's a few high-profile graduates. You might have heard of them. And by the way, we can send you this briefing now that you're signed up. We'll have you email this so we'll check this through. Many success. Oh, that was a picture of Adeo Ressi. I'll mess this up. Let's see. Our fearless leader. Okay. That's the CEO and founder of the Founder Institute, Adeo Ressi.
He's, you guys ever heard of him before? He's a big-time Silicon Valley rainmaker, and he became famous / notorious when he started a company called Befunded. It was the first company that basically got the opinions of CEOs about how their venture capital firm performed for them after they got the money. So it was highly controversial. You know, the VCs and private equity and investment banks, they like to think of themselves as a secret society that, you know, can do no wrong. And the stories you hear in the paper are the successful ones, but there's a lot of ones that are not successful. And this basically opened up the door to what's happening behind the scenes in venture capital firms, and that still exists today with funding. Economics. So if you come to one of these events, we just waive the application fee. So we want you all to apply. There's a course fee that if you're accepted as one of the 30 to 35 in the classroom, which varies by city. In our region, it's $9.95, which is one of the cheapest, because we want you to get started, and we're just starting, so we don't want that to be a barrier. We do have special programs if that financial hurdle is a game changer for you, and you can contact us and we can talk about that and help you if you need that. So we don't want that to be the inhibitor from you signing up. And then the only thing that you really give up as founders is 3.5% of your equity down the road after you're successful. And that is split in 3 different pieces. The most important piece to you is you get to share with everyone in your graduating class. So you're giving up 3.5%, but you're also getting access to all the other founders in your class. So if one of them hits a home run and goes public, you can make a lot of money out of the 3%. And the co-directors and the mentors share in that as well. So everybody's got alignment on the goals, and we all want you to be successful. Yes.
So of the 30 to 35 people in the pot, how much do we get to share and everybody else is if somebody hits the next Facebook or whatever? What's it?
So I don't have the exact numbers, but if you send me an email, I'll give you the breakdown. It's something like a third, a third, a third. A third between the co-directors, a third between the mentors or CEO founders who participate with your group, and a third of the 100% of the 3.5.
The pool is about 30% for all the participating classes, participating members in the class. So for example, and that's really the big part, you know, a lot of you guys who probably looked at startups, the biggest way that people get really rich with startups is any sort of equity ownership, right? Because if an event like a IPO happens and say they go for $1 billion, even that fraction of the percentage now that you share into, that's huge, right? Not saying that's a realistic expectation, but even, you know, for a $10 million exit, you're still probably going to get a couple of grand out of the class, right? And out of class about 30 or so startups, you know, you're looking at typically good estimate is about 3 exits.
Is the cost going to be the same as the Silicon Valley version, $14.99? Is that?
No, it's $9.95.
So it's based on a week.
Right, yeah. So, but since this is the first time we're opening, well, there's a DC Northern Virginia chapter already, by the way, which has been in for a couple of years, but they're not active this semester. So we'll be getting some of the DC Northern Virginia people too, but we wanted to make it at the lowest possible price. And again, if there's any individual, come see us offline if that's the inhibitor. So we do put you through a predictive analysis test to test your personality. All of us took it, I failed, but it's basically to see if you have the mentality or the genetic flaws, I like to call it, to prepare you for becoming a founder and taking it all the way through. It's very visual. We have on the handouts one of the single samples, you can see the slide. So we do ask all of you for the application process to go through this 45-minute or hour exercise, and we do look at the results. So yeah, we can talk more about that later. So the important thing again is the people that are helping you, you're sharing with, and if your teammates and group mates and classmates succeed, you'll actually benefit from that. So there's 14 classes I mentioned here. It's broken into 3 different stages: idea, business, and launch. So you know you'll have different mentors, CEOs teaching potentially each of these different courses. A lot of us are also teach. Rick's a full-time professor. John Stockton's Perry Business School MBA program. I'm an adjunct professor. Leo's done many courses through many startups, and a lot of our mentors have been teachers as well as just giving advice. So You're not sure exactly who you're going to get, but all the are very qualified, and they've been a founder and CEO as well. So the outputs that you get are, the first great thing is you want to lock in the idea. And ideas are sort of fluid. Just because you have an idea now doesn't mean it's not going to morph before you get here, but we want to make sure it's a solid idea. You'll actually form a corporation while you're in the middle of the class, which is one of the hurdles. We'll come up with a business plan. We'll actually start product in some cases, until the last thing is we have a professional investor pitch before you get in front of these fundraising sources, whether it's Petco, whether it's an angel group, whether it's even a VC for some ideas that are more advanced than others. So the last thing is we'll prepare you to get in front of the money maker.
Can I ask a question? Do you have to form a corporation, or can you form an
To
LLC?
graduate, you have, well, some sort of formal organization, whether it's